People turned when I entered the hall, slowly, deliberately, like they had been waiting to measure me. But I didn't rush. I didn't smile. I didn't even blink. I simply kept walking, my steps soft on the marble floor, my wrapper tied neatly around my waist, my handbag simple, my jewelry minimal. To everyone in that grand hall, I looked like just another modest mother from a humble background. And that was exactly what I wanted. Because none of them, not a single soul in that hall, knew that the woman they were ignoring, the woman they were whispering about, the woman they believed had nothing to offer, was worth $100 million. Not inherited, not gifted, built with my own hands, after raising my daughter alone, after bearing pain nobody knew I survived, after working 2 jobs, then building quiet investments over 20 years. But I never bragged. I never showed it. And today, at her wedding, I wanted to see something very simple. Who would treat me with respect when they believed I had nothing? Because wealth is not only measured by money. It is measured by how people treat you when they think you are powerless. My daughter, Adaora, was too excited to notice the shift in behavior around me. She kept adjusting her ivory lace gown, smiling so brightly her dimples showed. She deserved her joy. She had no idea why I insisted on keeping my wealth private. She thought it was just my nature. She didn't know I had a reason. But her husband's family, they showed themselves immediately. The moment they saw me, the groom's mother, Madame Felicia, tall, flashy, dripping in gold, sighed loudly and said to her relatives, so this is the woman our son married into? No wonder she didn't contribute anything serious to the wedding. She didn't whisper. She didn't hide it. She wanted me to hear. Her sisters-in-law looked me up and down like I was furniture they didn't order. One even chuckled. She should have at least borrowed better wrapper. Wedding of this class. And she looks like she's going to market. They laughed. I watched quietly. Because if there's one thing life taught me, it is this. The loudest people are often the most ignorant. My daughter saw my face tighten. "Mummy, ignore them. Today is my day," she whispered. And I smiled, not because I didn't feel the sting, but because I already knew how the story would end. The wedding continued, and the disrespect grew like weeds. Heavy check mark, they pushed me to sit at the back table, behind distant relatives. Heavy check mark, the groom's mother said I shouldn't embarrass them by coming forward during the cake cutting. Heavy check mark, they gave contributions credit to someone else because a woman of her level couldn't have donated this amount. Heavy check mark when they called parents of the bride for pictures. They almost skipped me entirely. But I stayed calm. Respect is not begged for, it's revealed. I watched everyone. I listened. I observed who smiled at me out of kindness, and who smirked because they believed I was beneath them. Then it happened. During the reception, when gifts were being displayed, the groom's uncle held the microphone and said loudly, "If we had known earlier that Adaora's mother's a widow with no standing, we would have taken charge of everything ourselves. But it's okay. Our family is capable." The hall laughed. My daughter froze. Her smile dropped. Her husband looked embarrassed, but too afraid to confront his own family. And I remained still, silent, because insults never kill a wise person. They only reveal people's real character. But people forget something. Money is quiet. Arrogance is loud. Respect is earned. Character is remembered. When the MC announced that the couple should move to the family table for blessings, I stood up too. Felicia quickly blocked me with her hand. "Please, Ma, only important elders," she said, stressing the word important. That was the moment my daughter snapped. "No," Adaora said sharply. "My mother has every right." But I gently touched her hand. "Let them finish," I said, my voice steady, because the moment I had been waiting for, the test I needed, the truth I wanted to expose, was finally here. Felicia turned to the guests with a fake smile and said loudly, "You know, some people like to claim what they are not, but it is well." The whole hall murmured. That was when I sighed softly, opened my handbag, and brought out one small black envelope. Nobody expected it, not even my daughter. I placed it on the table gently. Felicia frowned. "Madam, what is that?" I looked straight into her eyes and said in a calm, unshaken voice, "A gift for my daughter, and for those who believe respect belongs only to the wealthy." She scoffed. "What can be in that envelope? Contribution?" I smiled faintly, but before I could speak, before anyone could guess, before the truth inside that envelope could change the entire wedding, Adaora's husband grabbed it, opened it carelessly, and froze. The color drained from his face. People leaned in. Whispers started. His mother snatched the envelope from him. She pulled out the paper, unfolded it. Her eyes widened, and her legs shook, because written in clean, bold letters was, "Transfer confirmation, $100 million. Designated trustee, Adaora, bride." The entire hall gasped, and that was when I said quietly, calmly, without raising my voice, "I just want to see who would treat me with respect, without knowing who I truly am." And the hall went silent, completely silent. Even the music stopped. People's faces changed instantly, shock, disbelief, sudden humility. But it was too late. They had already shown me exactly who they were. Before I continue, my beautiful viewers watching this story right now, please pause for 1 second. Where are you watching from? Have you ever been judged because people thought you had nothing? Tell me in the comments. And please like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss more powerful stories on this channel. All right, let's go deeper into the story. People turned when I entered the hall, slowly, deliberately, like they had been waiting to measure me. But I didn't rush. I didn't smile. I didn't even blink. I simply kept walking, my steps soft on the marble floor, my wrapper tied neatly around my waist, my handbag simple, my jewelry minimal. To everyone in that grand hall, I looked like just another modest mother from a humble background. And that was exactly what I wanted. Because none of them, not a single soul in that hall, knew that the woman they were ignoring, the woman they were whispering about, the woman they believed had nothing to offer, was worth $100 million. Not inherited, not gifted, built with my own hands, after raising my daughter alone, after bearing pain nobody knew I survived, after working 2 jobs, then building quiet investments over 20 years. But I never bragged. I never showed it. And today, at her wedding, I wanted to see something very simple. Who would treat me with respect when they believed I had nothing? Because wealth is not only measured by money. It is measured by how people treat you when they think you are powerless. My daughter, Adaora, was too excited to notice the shift in behavior around me. She kept adjusting her ivory lace gown, smiling so brightly her dimples showed. She deserved her joy. She had no idea why I insisted on keeping my wealth private. She thought it was just my nature. She didn't know I had a reason. But her husband's family, they showed themselves immediately. The moment they saw me, the groom's mother, Madame Felicia, tall, flashy, dripping in gold, sighed loudly and said to her relatives, "So this is a woman our son married into? No wonder she didn't contribute anything serious to the wedding." She didn't whisper. She didn't hide it. She wanted me to hear. Her sisters-in-law looked me up and down like I was furniture they didn't order. One even chuckled. She should have at least borrowed better wrapper. Wedding of this class. And she looks like she's going to market. They laughed. I watched quietly. Because if there's one thing life taught me, it is this. The loudest people are often the most ignorant. My daughter saw my face tighten. "Mummy, ignore them. Today is my day," she whispered. And I smiled. Not because I didn't feel the sting, but because I already knew how the story would end. The wedding continued, and the disrespect grew like weeds. They pushed me to sit at the back table, behind distant relatives. The groom's mother said I shouldn't embarrass them by coming forward during the cake cutting. They gave contributions credit to someone else because a woman of her level couldn't have donated this amount. When they called parent of the bride for pictures, they almost skipped me entirely. But I stayed calm. Respect is not begged for, it's revealed. I watched everyone. I listened. I observed who smiled at me out of kindness, and who smirked because they believed I was beneath them. Then it happened. During the reception, when gifts were being displayed, The groom's uncle held a microphone and said loudly, "If we had known earlier that Adaora's mother is a widow with no standing, we would have taken charge of everything ourselves. But it's okay. Our family is capable." The hall laughed. My daughter froze. Her smile dropped. Her husband looked embarrassed, but too afraid to confront his own family. And I remained still, silent, because insults never kill a wise person. They only reveal people's real character. But people forget something. Money is quiet. Arrogance is loud. Respect is earned. Character is remembered. When the MC announced that the couple should move to the family table for blessings, I stood up too. Felicia quickly blocked me with her hand. "Please, Ma, only important elders," she said, stressing the word important. That was the moment my daughter snapped. "No," Adaora said sharply. "My mother has every right." But I gently touched her hand. "Let them finish," I said, my voice steady, because the moment I had been waiting for, the test I needed, the truth I wanted to expose, was finally here. Felicia turned to the guests with a fake smile and said loudly, "You know, some people like to claim what they are not, but it is well." The whole hall murmured. That was when I sighed softly, opened my handbag, and brought out one small black envelope. Nobody expected it, not even my daughter. I placed it on the table gently. Felicia frowned. "Madam, what is that?" I looked straight into her eyes and said in a calm, unshaken voice, "A gift from my daughter, and for those who believe respect belongs only to the wealthy." She scoffed. "What can be in that envelope? Contribution?" I smiled faintly, but before I could speak, before anyone could guess, before the truth inside that envelope could change the entire wedding, Adaora's husband grabbed it, opened it carelessly, and froze. The color drained from his face. People leaned in. Whispers started. His mother snatched the envelope from him. She pulled out the paper, unfolded it. Her eyes widened, and her legs shook, because written in clean, bold letters was, "Transfer confirmation, $100 million. Designated trustee, Adaora, bride." The entire hall gasped. And that was when I said quietly, calmly, without raising my voice, "I just wanted to see who would treat me with respect, without knowing who I truly am." And the hall went silent, completely silent. Even the music stopped. People's faces changed instantly, shock, disbelief, sudden humility. But it was too late. They had already shown me exactly who they were. The entire hall was frozen, the air thick enough to cut. Faces that carried arrogance only moments ago were suddenly wearing confusion, fear, disbelief, and a desperate attempt to rearrange themselves into humility. But I stood there calmly, holding nothing but my purse and my dignity. Adaora trembled beside me. "Mummy, you never told me." Her voice quivered as though she wasn't sure if she was hallucinating. I touched her hand gently. "My child, everything is not for the world to know, not even for you to know, until the right time." But the room wasn't ready to move on. Oh no, because in that moment, the groom's mother, Madame Felicia, who had mocked my clothes, insulted my background, shoved me to the back table, and spoken loudly enough for the whole hall to hear, was now staring at the document, like it was a death sentence. She staggered backward, fanning herself. There must be a mistake." Guests leaned forward, hungry for drama. Even the MC quietly stepped away from the stage, pretending to adjust technical wires. He didn't want to interrupt history. Felicia turned to her son. "Chaik, check it. Is it real? This cannot be accurate." But Chaik didn't even move. He just stared at me, his lips parted, sweat forming on his forehead. My mother didn't mean," he began. Before he could finish, his uncle, yes, the same one who mocked me with a microphone, quickly collected the document, reading it so fast he began to stutter. This says $100 million. $100 million? Dollars? Not naira." The gasp that followed echoed like an explosion. I didn't change my expression. Why should I? I wasn't here to impress or punish, only to observe, and they had shown their true colors. Felicia suddenly rushed toward me, grabbing my hand with both of hers like a woman who had found a long-lost sister. Aha, my sister, my darling, you didn't tell us. Why did you hide such a blessing? You should have informed us now. Everything would have been perfect. I slowly withdrew my hand, looking at her with the same calmness I had since the beginning. You didn't ask, I replied softly. Her mouth twitched. I continued, you only looked at my wrapper, my handbag, and my seat at the back. You measured me without speaking to me. The hall murmured. The truth is loud when spoken softly. Chaik, the groom, quickly stepped forward, suddenly smiling as though he had swallowed sugar. Mummy, please don't mind them. They didn't represent all of us. I always had deep respect for you. I tilted my head. Oh, respect? Even when you refused to greet me properly during introductions? Even when you told your friends I was ordinary? I heard everything. He froze like a man caught stealing meat from hot soup. Adaora looked between him and me, her heart pounding. Chaik, you said that? After everything my mother went through to raise me? He swallowed hard. Babe, I didn't mean it like that. The lies crawled on his tongue like ants on spilled sugar. But I wasn't finished. Felicia stepped forward again, voice cracking. My dear sister, please, let's not spoil this wedding. We are family now. Money is not everything. I looked at her. I agree. Money is not everything. That is why I came here humbly, so you would reveal who you truly are. But now I have seen. Adaora suddenly held her chest. Mummy, what does this mean for my marriage? The room stilled again. Because this chapter was no longer about the money. It was about truth. I pulled my daughter aside, gently, lovingly, the way only a mother who has carried struggle and victory in equal measure can. My dear, I whispered, marriage is not built on riches or poverty. It is built on character. Her eyes watered. Mummy, I didn't know. Why would you know when they acted so sweet in your presence? A snake knows when to hide its fangs. The groom and his family heard every word, their faces twisted in shame. But before I could continue speaking to my daughter, the unexpected happened. The groom's father, Chief Enyingmu, stood up slowly from his reserved high table. He had been quiet all day, observing like a man who wanted everyone else to expose themselves first. He walked toward me with a dignity his wife clearly lacked. When he reached me, he bowed his head slightly. Madam, he said softly, I apologize for every disrespect you faced today. My family acted out of ignorance, and for that, I am ashamed. His humility silenced the hall. I looked at him, unlike his wife and relatives. He wasn't pretending. He continued, some of us judge too quickly. I am guilty for not correcting them earlier. Then he faced Adaora. My daughter, forgive us. Adaora sniffed, nodding slowly. But Felicia wasn't ready to lose her throne. She hissed loudly, Chief, why are you bowing to her? Do you know who? He cut her off sharply. Enough, Felicia. Her mouth snapped shut, eyes wide. Chaik stepped forward. Daddy, but... Quiet. Chief Enyingmu's voice carried power. Then he turned back to me. But, madam, if you do not mind, please allow us a chance to make things right. The entire room waited for my answer. Would I forgive them? Would I walk away? Would I expose more secrets? I looked at my daughter, shaking, emotional, unsure. I touched her shoulder gently. My decision, I said slowly, will depend on one thing. The room leaned in. The truth about why Chaik wanted to marry you. Chaik's eyes shot open. Felicia gasped. The hall erupted. The hall fell completely silent, the kind of silence that presses against the walls and forces the truth out of hiding. My question hung in the air like smoke. Why did you really want to marry my daughter? Chaik swallowed hard, but the words refused to come out. His eyes darted from me to Adaora, to his father, then to the floor, as though the answer was buried somewhere in the tiles. Adaora stepped closer to him, voice trembling. Chaik, what is she talking about? Did you marry me for a reason you didn't tell me? Her voice cracked. Everyone could hear her heart breaking already. Chaik tried to manage a smile, but it collapsed immediately. The whole room could see the guilt crawling across his face like a shadow. "And my love, I married you because I care about you," he whispered, but his voice had no conviction. Chief Anyamia looked disappointed, profoundly disappointed, the kind of disappointment that sits in a father's chest like a heavy stone. "Chike," he said quietly, "speak the truth. This is your wife now. Whatever happens here, let it be clear." Felicia panicked, grabbing her son's arm. "Don't say anything. These people want to embarrass you. Don't." "Felicia," the chief snapped. She froze. All her earlier arrogance had dissolved into fear. Chike closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them slowly, defeated. "I didn't marry Adaora for money," he began quietly. A few people sighed in relief. "But," he whispered, voice cracking, "I didn't marry her for love either." Adaora gasped as though someone slapped her across the face. "What?" she breathed. Her bouquet almost slipped from her hand. Her knees weakened. The hall gasped again. Chike tried to reach for her hand, but she stepped back, tears gathering instantly. "Mummy warned me," she whispered. "She warned me that people see my kindness as a weakness. She begged me to think deeply before accepting you. And I defended you. I chose you." She covered her mouth, sobbing softly. Chike rubbed his face in frustration. "I liked you. I truly did. But my mother, my uncles, they pushed me. They said marrying you was the best way to secure my future." My face didn't move. I had expected worse. The groom's uncle stepped forward, trying to salvage something. "Madam, it's not like that. The girl is beautiful, educated, respectful. Your daughter is—" I raised my hand lightly. "Sir, I have heard enough." Felicia suddenly lunged forward again. "Look, madam, there's no marriage that is perfect, oh. Leave all this money talk." "Is it money," I said softly, "or is it respect?" That shut her up instantly. Adaora wiped her tears, looking directly at Chike. "So you and your family saw me as what? A ladder?" "Baby, no." "A shortcut?" "No." "An investment for your comfort?" Chike broke. "Yes," he whispered. The hall erupted again. A few people even covered their mouths. Adaora's chest rose and fell rapidly. Her hands shook. "You used me," she whispered. He panicked. "I didn't mean to, but I grew to love you." "Grow to love," she snapped. "So you didn't come with love. You came with plans." Her voice echoed sharply through the hall. The photographer lowered his camera. The DJ quietly turned down the music. Even the children running around earlier had stopped playing. I stepped forward, my voice calm, steady and controlled. "This is precisely why I stayed silent about my wealth," I said. "To know who was entering my daughter's life with sincerity." Felicia shook her head rapidly. No, you are twisting everything. Chike is a good boy. He is ambitious. Ambition is not a sin," I replied. "But ambition without character becomes greed." Chike's father sighed heavily. He placed a hand on his son's shoulder, then looked at Adaora with genuine sadness. "My daughter, I wish I had intervened earlier. I saw the desperation in him. I thought marriage would calm him. And instead," I said softly, "marriage was a target." Adaora cried harder, covering her face. Her bridesmaids rushed toward her, but she raised a hand, stopping them. "No, nobody touched me," she whispered brokenly. "My wedding day, and I'm finding out that I was chosen, not loved." Chike tried again. "Adaora, please listen to me." "No," she shouted, her voice breaking. "Don't come close to me." Her pain was raw, too raw to hide. I felt my own heart tighten. No mother wants her child to feel such betrayal. Then Adaora turned to me, tears streaming. "Mummy, what do I do? Do I walk away? Do I stay? I don't want to be like you, suffering alone because of a man's choices." Her words cut deep, but they were true. The hall watched me. Everyone waited. Even Felicia trembled. I took a deep breath, stepped forward, and wiped a tear from my daughter's cheek. "My child," I said gently, "I did not hide my pain to make you strong. I hid it so you would never have to carry it." Adaora breathed shakily. I continued, Marriage is not sustained by tears and excuses. It is built on truth. And right now, you must decide if this truth is something you can live with. The hall felt heavy, almost suffocating. Chaik whispered desperately, "Please, don't end us today." Adaora looked at him with a gaze, so wounded it silenced him instantly. "Chaik," she whispered softly, "this marriage ended the moment you admitted you never truly chose me." And with those words, Adaora turned away, and the entire hall knew the wedding was no longer a celebration. It was a revelation. Adaora walked away, her gown dragging softly across the glossy floor, and each step sounded like a tear falling from her heart. Guests parted for her, creating a silent pathway, their earlier excitement replaced with heavy guilt and pity. Even the hall's bright lights seemed dimmer, as though the entire building could feel her pain. I followed her slowly, not rushing, not pushing, because some heartbreaks need space to breathe before they can be held. When we reached the back of the hall, she turned to me suddenly and collapsed into my arms. "Mummy, how do I start again?" she cried. My whole future, everything I planned, gone in one moment. I held her tightly, my hand stroking her back as if she were still my little girl afraid of thunderstorms. "My child, a future built on lies is already broken. Today didn't destroy your life, it saved it." Her shoulders shook as she sobbed. Meanwhile, behind us, the hall erupted into chaos. Felicia ran to her son's side, panicking like a woman about to lose her only lifeline. "Chaik, don't stand there. Go and get your wife. Go now." But Chaik didn't move. He looked like a man drowning in his own regret, unable to swim or breathe. Chief Enyamyu stepped forward again, his voice firm but heavy with disappointment. "Son," he said, "a marriage cannot begin with manipulation. Whether she forgives you or not, this lesson is yours to hold. A man must stand on his own integrity, not lean on a woman's future." Chaik lowered his head. Felicia snapped, "Chief, will you keep quiet? This girl cannot just walk out. We did asoebi. We spent money. We invited people. You want us to be disgraced." "It is better to be disgraced," he answered calmly, "than to imprison a woman in a marriage built on falsehood." Her jaw dropped. Guests murmured loudly, some agreeing, some simply shocked that the chief was defending the bride. But Felicia wasn't done. "No, women like her never surrender quietly." She stormed toward me and Adaora, stopping just a few steps away. "Madam," she shouted, "call your daughter back. This is marriage. Marriage is not for children. Everybody has faults. Everybody has reasons. Are we the only ones at fault?" I looked at her, still holding my daughter. "Felicia," I said softly, "this is the first time today you call me madam instead of mocking me." She blinked, embarrassed. I continued, "Marriage is about partnership, respect, truth. Your son came with plans, not love. Should I force my daughter into that simply because you wore expensive lace?" Some guests chuckled quietly, but most simply nodded in agreement. Felicia put her hands on her waist. "Do you know how many marriages survive without love? As long as both families benefit." "Family?" I interrupted. "You insulted me the moment I walked into this hall. You mocked my clothes. You shoved me to the back. You blocked me from honoring my own child. Is that what you call family?" Felicia's mouth trembled. "And yet," I added, "you want her to join your family with blind eyes?" She looked away angrily. Adaora stepped forward, voice cracking. "Mummy, I can't marry into a home where I was judged before they even knew my name." Felicia hissed under her breath, "That is before we knew you had money. Who will judge you now?" The entire hall gasped. Chief Enyamyu covered his face in shame. I let the word sit for a moment. Then I asked quietly, "So if the envelope had been empty, you would still see me as trash?" Felicia's eyes widened, but she couldn't answer. No lie could save her now. Adaora shook her head slowly. "This is not the kind of people I want to spend my life with." Chaik stepped toward her, voice trembling. "Adaora, please, please don't do this. I know I was wrong. I know I was pressured, but I truly grew to love you. Please don't walk away." Adaora looked at him, her tears slowing, her voice steadier. "How do I trust you? Every sweet word, was it truth or strategy? He covered his face. I don't know, he whispered. I don't know anymore. His honesty made the hall grow even more silent. Adaora sighed softly. I forgive you, but forgiveness is not the same thing as acceptance. Not today, not like this. Felicia screamed. No! She must marry him. Do you know how people will laugh at us? Do you know how it will look? Then let them laugh, Adaora said firmly. At least the laughter will be honest. Her strength shocked even me. Felicia collapsed on a chair dramatically, whining like her world had ended. Andes gathered around her, fanning her, muttering about her village enemies. Chike's father walked toward us slowly. He stopped in front of Adaora and bowed his head. My daughter, he said quietly, this is not how I wanted your day to go. If you choose to leave, I will not stop you. If you choose to continue, I will support you. But whatever you choose, choose peace. Adaora nodded. The chief turned to me. Madam, your daughter was raised with strength. I respect you. And that was when Felicia, unable to hold herself any more, screamed. But what happens to our family image? I turned to her. What happens to your image is what you built, I said. Today, the mask simply fell. She froze, her eyes wide with humiliation. Adaora breathed deeply. Mummy, she said, voice soft but clear, I can't stay here anymore. I want to leave. I nodded. Then we leave. We turned, walking toward the exit, mother and daughter, dignity unbroken. But as we approached the door, Chike suddenly ran forward, dropping to his knees, his voice tearing through the hall. Adaora, please. If you walk out, I will lose everything. My marriage, my pride, my family's respect. Please, don't go. Adaora paused. The hall held its breath, but she didn't turn around. She whispered one sentence. Then maybe you should have valued me before you needed me. And with that, she walked out, and the hall knew this was not the end. It was the beginning of something none of them expected. Outside the wedding hall, the evening breeze brushed against Adaora's cheeks, drying the last of her tears. The compound was quiet, too quiet, like the world itself had paused for a heartbreak. Even the fountains at the entrance seemed to bubble more softly, as if respecting her pain. She stood still for a moment, breathing deeply, trying to gather herself. I held her hand, letting her know I wasn't going anywhere. Mummy, she whispered, her voice small, is it wrong that my heart is breaking? Even though I made the right decision? I brushed her arm gently. No, pain is not a sign you made a mistake. Pain is a sign that you were sincere. She leaned on my shoulder. Inside the hall, the chaos continued. Voices rose. Accusations flew. Felicia was shouting. Chike was crying. Chief Enyanwu was trying to calm everyone. But out here, under the open sky, there was peace for the first time that day. As we walked toward the car park, guests slowly began trickling out in small groups, whispering, embarrassed. Some avoided eye contact. Some approached carefully. A few women came to Adaora, their faces soft with sympathy. My daughter, be strong, one auntie said gently. God save you today. Another added, better broken engagement than broken marriage. Someone else whispered. Adaora nodded politely, but her eyes were far away, lost in the ache of everything that was supposed to be. Suddenly, a black SUV pulled up beside us. The driver stepped out and opened the door. Chief Enyanwu came out slowly. He walked toward us with the quiet dignity he had shown earlier. When he reached us, he bowed his head. My daughter, he said softly to Adaora, I know apologies cannot erase the pain, but I must still give one. I am truly sorry for what my family turned your day into. Adaora took a slow breath. Daddy, you didn't do anything to me. You were the only one who showed me respect. He nodded sadly. Respect is not enough when a child's heart has been hurt. He turned to me. Madam, he said, I may not know everything about your life, but today you showed integrity, and you raised your daughter well. I thanked him quietly. Then he looked at Adaora again. If there is ever a day you wish to talk, to seek closure, or even to hear my son's explanation, my doors are open. not as a man defending his son, but as a man who sees your worth. Adaora nodded gently. Thank you, she whispered. Suddenly, we heard footsteps, fast ones. Chike came running out, breathless, eyes swollen. He looked like a man whose world had collapsed in minutes. Adaora, please, he cried, not caring who watched. Just talk to me. Just listen. Don't leave like this. Adaora turned slowly, her face blank. He approached her with trembling hands. Please, he begged. Don't walk out of my life. I didn't plan it this way. Yes, I was wrong. I was pressured. I was stupid. But I swear, after getting to know you, I fell for you. I fell hard. I love you. Please believe me. Adaora simply watched him, her eyes unreadable. Chike took another step. You're my wife. Please don't go. Adaora spoke softly. Chike, I was your wife because I believed you loved me. But now I know you love the idea of what I could do for you. That's not true, he shouted, voice cracking. But it is, she replied gently. You admitted it in front of everyone. He shook his head violently, tears spilling. I don't want to lose you. Adaora looked at him, her heart visibly breaking all over again. Then you should have loved me first, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Not later, not eventually, not gradually, not because it was convenient. Chike's knees buckled as he sank to the ground. Please, please don't leave, he cried, holding her gown like a drowning man holds driftwood. Adaora pulled her gown softly from his hands. I am leaving, she whispered, but not because I hate you. He looked up desperately. Then why? She took a slow breath. Because I refuse to build a future with someone who saw my value after he thought he lost me. Her words sliced silently through the air. Chief Enyanyu closed his eyes, pained but understanding. Felicia burst out of the hall, running toward us, shouting, Chike, get up. Don't embarrass us more. Stand up. She must follow you back inside. But Adaora extended her hand toward me. Mummy, can we go home? I nodded and opened the car door. As she stepped inside, Chike's trembling voice came again. Adaora, please. She paused, turned slightly, and spoke with the last bit of strength left in her heart. Chike, if you want to be a good man, start by respecting yourself. Then respect others. Then maybe one day, someone will love you for who you truly are. She entered the car and closed the door. Felicia was still shouting, still angry, still fighting a battle that was already over. Chike knelt in the parking lot, staring at the car as if the engine wasn't just starting, but ending everything. The moment we drove off, Adaora leaned her head on the window and whispered, Mummy, what do I do with a future I didn't plan for? And I replied softly, you rebuild it, with truth this time, with strength, with dignity, and with a love that does not need to be earned by proving your worth. She nodded slowly, but unknown to both of us. This was only the beginning of what destiny had planned. The $100 million secret had shaken a wedding, but what it would shake next was far bigger than any of us expected. The ride home was filled with silence, thick, heavy, suffocating silence. Adaora stared through the car window, as if the world outside no longer belonged to her. Her wedding makeup had streaked into soft lines, her lashes trembling each time she blinked. In that moment, she looked less like a bride and more like a child whose heart had been torn in two. When we reached the house, she stepped out carefully, holding the edges of her gown so it wouldn't drag on the ground. But that gown, once her symbol of joy, now felt like a burden. Inside the house, she walked straight to her room without saying a word. I didn't follow her immediately. Some pains require loneliness before comfort can enter. I sat in the living room, letting the quiet settle around me, thinking of the ways life can twist someone's destiny in a matter of minutes. I had hidden my wealth for a purpose, to protect her from vultures, but even I could not imagine the cruelty that would unfold so publicly. Minutes later, I heard her door open softly. She stood at the hallway entrance, her veil off, her face bare, vulnerability exposed. Mummy, her voice cracked. Is this what marriage could be like? I opened my arms, and she walked into them slowly. My child, I whispered, marriage is not evil, but the wrong person can make a good thing feel like a curse. She held on to me tightly. I feel ashamed, she murmured, as if I failed, as if something is wrong with me. I pulled back and held her cheeks gently. Adaora, listen to me. You did not fail. You discovered the truth before the truth destroyed your life. That is victory, not failure. Her tears spilled again. After a long silence, she asked the question I had been expecting. Mummy, did my father love you? The house went cold instantly. It was the one question she rarely asked, the one wound I never encouraged her to touch. But today, with betrayal still bleeding in the air, she needed an answer. So I took a deep breath and sat down with her. My daughter, your father loved me, but not enough to choose me over his desires. Adaora looked confused. He wasn't a bad man, I continued, but he was a weak man, and weakness in a husband becomes poison for a wife. She swallowed hard. When he realized I wasn't rich, when his family mocked me, when things got hard, he changed. One day he walked out and never returned. Adaora's eyes widened. She covered her mouth. Mummy, yes, I whispered. That is why I built myself. That is why I built a life not dependent on any man. That is why I raised you to be strong. Adaora's voice trembled. So you hid your money because you didn't want men coming for me the way they came for you? Exactly, I said softly. She hugged me again, this time with understanding, not just pain. But our moment of silence was interrupted by a sudden loud knock at the gate. Boom, boom, boom. Adaora froze. Mummy, who is that? Before I could answer, the gatekeeper rushed to the door. Madam, he said breathlessly, 3 cars are outside. Big cars. They say they must see you. Adaora's heart jumped. Tyke, she whispered. No, the gatekeeper said. These ones, they look older, and they look serious. I stood slowly. Something felt wrong. Something felt heavy. We walked to the compound, and as soon as the gate opened, 3 black luxury SUVs rolled in quietly, engines humming like a warning. 6 well-dressed men stepped out in matching suits. They looked powerful, important, not from Chike's family. These ones had presence. The leader walked forward, holding a small briefcase. Good evening, Ma, he said politely. We apologize for coming unannounced. We tried calling, but your lines were busy. Adaora gripped my arm. Who are you? The leader smiled slightly, but his eyes remained serious. We represent an international investment group, he said. You may not know us, but we know you. Adaora stiffened beside me. The man continued. We have been searching for you for the past 2 weeks, but you were under strict privacy. Your $100 million transfer today finally triggered a global alert. I blinked confused. He opened the briefcase. Inside was a document stamped with gold lettering. He handed me a card. We need to discuss your portfolio. Madam, you have assets you have not reviewed in over 8 years. And there is something even more important. Adaora looked at me in confusion. Something more important than $100 million? She asked. The man nodded slowly. Yes, your late husband left a seal file that is only to be handed over to you today, on your daughter's wedding day. Adaora gasped. I felt my heart stop. The man looked at us steadily. And in that file is the truth about everything you never knew. The compound went silent. Adaora grabbed my hand tightly. Mummy, what did Daddy leave behind? The man extended the document. Nah, your late husband left a message, a confession, and something that will change both of your lives forever. My breath caught in my throat, because I wasn't prepared for this. For years, I believed he abandoned us. But now it was clear he left a secret behind, and it was finally time to open it. The sealed envelope sat in the man's hand like a ticking bomb. The compound was so silent that even the night breeze seemed to pause, waiting for what would happen next. Adaora's fingers dug into my arm, her breath unsteady. Mummy, she whispered, what is inside that file? I couldn't answer, because I didn't know, because my heart had begun to race in a way it hadn't for years. The man in the suit stepped forward respectfully. Ma, he said, This file was entrusted to our organization by your late husband. He instructed it to be delivered only on this exact day, your daughter's wedding day. Adaora swallowed painfully. But he left when I was a child. Why didn't he ever? The man raised a hand gently. We are not allowed to open it. We do not know the contents. But he said it contains something that concerns both of you. Something he didn't want revealed while he lived. Adaora's eyes softened into heartbreak. So he cared, she whispered. All these years, did he actually care? I could hear the pain she had carried for so long. The type of pain that doesn't announce itself but grows quietly in a woman's heart. The man extended the envelope. Ma, please. My hand trembled as I reached for it. For a moment, I froze. My past, the past I had buried under strength, survival, and motherhood, was standing here, demanding to be faced. Adaora stepped closer. Mummy, open it. I looked at her. Are you sure? She nodded. I need to know. We both do. So I inhaled deeply, steadying my soul, and broke the seal. Inside the envelope were 2 items, a handwritten letter and a document with legal seals. The letter was old but carefully preserved. My husband's handwriting. My breath caught in my chest. I unfolded it slowly. My eyes fell on the first line. If you are reading this, I am no longer alive. Adaora gasped softly. I continued reading silently, but the words pierced through me like sharp thorns. I left not because I stopped loving you, but because I feared my past would destroy you and our daughter. Past? What past? I blinked and read further. Men came after me. Dangerous men. I had debts, powerful enemies. I was threatened. I was told if I didn't disappear, they would hurt you both. My heart lurched. Adaora whispered, Mummy, what is it? But I couldn't speak yet. I read the next part. Leaving you broke me, but staying would have killed you. So I made a choice, one that haunts me even in death. My hand shook slightly. Adaora grabbed my arm desperately. Mummy, what is happening? I handed her the letter. Read it, my child. She took it with trembling hands. As she read, her eyes widened with every sentence. By the time she reached the end, she was crying silently. Mummy, all this time, he wasn't heartless. He was protecting us. Before I could respond, the man in the suit spoke softly. There is also the second document, Ma. I opened it, and my breath vanished. It was a legal declaration, dated over 20 years ago, a confirmation of assets, shares, properties, foreign accounts, and then the final line. All assets are to be transferred to my wife and daughter on her wedding day. Adaora stared at me, stunned. Mummy, Daddy left us an inheritance. A massive one, the man said quietly. Combine what you already have. You both are far wealthier than you realize. My knees weakened. For years I had built my own success from the ground up, believing I was alone, believing no one had ever supported me. But now I knew the truth. My husband had left us something he believed would secure our future. Adaora began to cry harder, not from pain, but from a kind of grief that mixes sorrow with relief. Mummy, he didn't abandon us. I held her tightly. No, my child, he didn't. The man in the suit cleared his throat gently. There is one more thing. We turned to him. Your late husband wrote a message to your daughter. Adaora's eyes widened. To me? Yes, he said, handing her a much smaller sealed note. Her hand shook violently as she opened it. Inside was a single sentence. Just one. My daughter, never marry a man who sees your worth only when the world sees it. Adaora's breath broke. She closed her eyes, pressing the note to her heart. Mummy, did he somehow know what would happen today? I sighed deeply. Some men leave wisdom when they cannot leave presence. Adaora leaned into me, overwhelmed. The man in the suit bowed again. We will give you time. But please know, this inheritance requires immediate action. There are accounts to activate, meetings to attend, properties to claim. My mind spun. Tomorrow, I said. Tonight we need to breathe. They nodded, climbed back into their SUVs, and slowly drove out of the compound. When the gate closed behind them, silence returned. Adaora whispered, "Mummy, my life changed twice today, once from heartbreak and once from truth." I touched her cheek. "And both changes will shape the woman you become." She nodded, but neither of us knew that while we were still processing the truth, someone else was watching us from the dark corners of the street. Someone who had followed those SUVs. Someone who wasn't happy about this inheritance. Destiny had opened one door, but another darker one was waiting. The night deepened around the house, wrapping everything in a blanket of quiet that felt almost deceptive. Adaora and I sat in the living room, both of us exhausted, both of us holding on to pieces of a truth that had shattered and rebuilt parts of us in the same breath. Adaora clutched a small note from her father, running her thumb slowly across his handwriting, as if touching the words might bring him back. "Mummy, I wish he told us," she whispered. "I wish he didn't leave us thinking he chose another life over us." I stroked her hair gently. "My child, life is rarely black and white. Sometimes people we love make choices they believe will protect us, even when those choices wound us." She nodded weakly. We stayed like that for a while, letting the silence hold the things neither of us knew how to say. But while we sat inside, someone else moved outside the house. Quiet, deliberate, watching. The mysterious figure who had been standing near the streetlight earlier had stepped closer to the compound wall. His silhouette leaned against a tree, face hidden in the shadows, eyes fixed on the house as if waiting for the right moment to strike. Inside, Adaora finally stood up. "Mummy, I want to shower and change out of this gown. It feels heavy, like the whole day is still stuck to my skin." "Go, my dear," I whispered. "I'll warm some food." She nodded and walked to her room, dragging the long fabric of her dress behind her. But she didn't notice the figure outside, who slowly began to walk along the outer fence. I entered the kitchen and set a pot of soup on the stove. My hand shook slightly, not from fear, but from the overwhelming weight of everything that had unfolded. A failed wedding, a painful confession, an unexpected inheritance, a secret from a dead husband. It was too much for one day. I sat down quietly, closed my eyes, and exhaled deeply. Minutes passed before I heard Adaora's voice calling faintly. "Mummy." I stood quickly. Her voice didn't sound normal. I rushed toward her room and found her sitting on the edge of the bed in a fresh gown, her wedding dress lying folded beside her. But her face, something wasn't right. "Mummy," she whispered, "my head is spinning." I hurried to her, placing my hand on her forehead. "You're burning up," I murmured. "It's the stress. Your body is reacting." She tried to smile weakly. "I feel tired. I didn't realize heartbreak could feel physical." "Rest," I said softly. "You've carried too much today." I made her lie down and covered her gently. Her eyes closed almost immediately. I stayed beside her, watching her breathing slow down, her chest rising and falling softly. But as I tucked her in, something outside the window caught my eye. A shadow moving. I froze. Not an animal. Not the wind. A man. I saw him clearly under the faint glow of the outside lamp. Tall, broad shoulders, standing unnaturally still, watching the house. My heart pounded. I stepped closer to the window, and in that instant, he stepped back into the darkness, disappearing like smoke. Fear slid through me like cold water. I immediately closed the curtains and locked the window. Then I walked out into the hallway, checking every door and window. Everything was locked, but someone was definitely outside. As I reached the living room, the security guard appeared. "Madam," he said quietly, "someone has been outside your fence for almost an hour. I saw him, but he hides when I come closer." My stomach tightened. "Did you recognize him?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, but he looks like he's watching this house, not the street. Call the state security," I ordered, "and stay near the gate. Don't sleep." "Yes, madam." He left quickly. I stood by the living room window, staring out into the night, and that was when the phone rang. It was an unknown number. My pulse jumped. I answered cautiously. "Hello." A deep male voice filled the line, calm, Too calm. Madam, congratulations on your daughter's inheritance. My blood ran cold. Who is this? I demanded. The voice chuckled lowly. You know, wealth brings attention. And when large sums move, the wrong people always hear about it. I gripped the phone tighter. What do you want? Oh, nothing for now, he said softly. But tell your daughter to sleep well. Tomorrow, everything changes. We haven't even started yet. The call ended immediately. My whole body trembled. I locked every door again, pacing the floor in fear. The inheritance that was supposed to secure our lives had suddenly put us in danger. I walked back to Adaora's room quietly. She was asleep, breathing peacefully, unaware of the storm gathering outside. I sat beside her and whispered, My child, your father protected us once. Now I must protect you again. But the truth was, I didn't know how big the danger was. And I didn't know whether the man outside was connected to Chike's family or to something far older, something buried in my late husband's mysterious past. The next day would bring answers. But for now, we were no longer just dealing with heartbreak. We were dealing with a threat. I barely slept that night. Every small sound, a leaf falling, a car passing in the distance, a dog barking, jerked me awake. The man's voice from that phone call kept replaying in my mind. Tell your daughter to sleep well. Tomorrow, everything changes. Those words crawled under my skin like ice. At 5 a.m., I finally stood up, checked the doors again, checked every window, then walked to Adaora's room. She was still asleep, her chest rising and falling gently, unaware of the invisible storm circling our lives. I kissed her forehead and whispered, You deserve peace, not fear. But peace was no longer ours. Around 7 a.m., the state security called. Madam, good morning. We want to inform you that we saw unusual movement around your street last night. Someone avoided all the cameras, but we captured a silhouette from far away. My heart dropped. Did you recognize the person? I asked. No, but he was watching only your house. I thanked them and hung up. Adaora walked into the living room, rubbing her eyes, still wearing the gown she changed into last night. Mummy, she said slowly, did you sleep at all? I smiled faintly. A little. How do you feel? Tired, she whispered, and scared. I had a dream that someone was outside the window. My heart clenched. Don't worry, I said gently. You're safe here. But inside, fear crawled like fire ants. Before we could speak further, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. My stomach nodded. I answered carefully. Hello? A different male voice spoke, calm, disciplined, professional. Madam, good morning. My name is Inspector Hassan. We received a report of suspicious activity around your residence last night. We were informed you received a threatening call. We need to verify. I froze. How did they know about the call? I hadn't reported it. Who gave you that information? I asked quietly. The inspector paused. Ma, please stay calm. We were notified by the same international organization that brought the documents last night. Adaora's head snapped up. The men in suits? She whispered. Yes, the inspector continued. They are part of a global financial protection group. When they detect threats after major transactions, they alert law enforcement. I breathed slowly. So this is about the inheritance? Yes, Ma. You are dealing with figures that attract dangerous people. Adaora covered her mouth, eyes widening in fear. The inspector continued. We want to pay you a visit this morning for your safety. We also advise you not to leave the house. I ended the call and sat down heavily. Adaora knelt beside me. Mummy, what are we going to do? Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Ding, ding. Not loud, not fierce. Just soft but chilling. We both froze. The gatekeeper poked his head through the side door. Madam, there are people at the gate. Who? I asked sharply. He swallowed. They say they are from the police. Adaora's heart thudded. Mummy, is it safe? I stood up slowly. Stay behind me. We walked to the gate cautiously. Through the small viewing hole, I could see two men in police uniforms. But something felt off. Too quiet. Too calm. I opened the side door grill, but not the main gate. Yes, I asked firmly. Good morning, madam, the taller one said. We are here to help you. We received intel to threat. Which division are you from? I asked. He answered too quickly. Adaora's eyes widened. Mummy, something is wrong. I looked at their uniforms. Slightly faded, not matching perfectly. Boots dusty in a way that didn't fit early morning. My heart slammed inside my chest. These are not police. I stepped back quickly and slammed the small grill shut. Gatekeeper, lock everything. But the officers suddenly shoved the gate violently. Madam, open this gate now, one shouted. Open for your own safety. Adaora screamed. I grabbed her hand. Inside. Now. We ran back into the house, slamming the door shut. The men outside kept banging the gate. Madam, if you don't open, we will break this gate. Adaora trembled uncontrollably. Mummy, what do they want? Who are they? I pulled her into the living room corner. Listen to me, I whispered, voice shaking. They heard about the inheritance. This is not about Chike's family. This is about dangerous men your father feared. Tears filled her eyes. What do we do? Before I could speak, the real gatekeeper rushed in, panting. Madam, they're climbing the fence. They are coming inside. Adaora covered her mouth to keep from screaming. My heartbeat pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. I grabbed her shoulders firmly. Go to my room. Hide in the wardrobe. Don't come out, no matter what you hear. She shook her head violently. No, I'm not leaving you. Go, I shouted, pushing her gently but firmly. Your father protected you before he died. I will protect you now. She cried but ran. As soon as she disappeared down the hall, the first sound came. Crack. A window shattered at the side of the house. Then footsteps. Multiple footsteps. They were inside. My whole body trembled, but I stood still, because a mother with fear is dangerous, but a mother with purpose is unstoppable. I moved into the hallway, grabbing the closest thing I could find, an old metal candle stand. Their shadows appeared on the wall. Then a deep voice echoed through the house. Madam, you have something we need. Give us access to the accounts, and no one gets hurt. My breath shook. They were not guessing. They knew. I tightened my grip on the candle stand and whispered to myself, for my daughter, for the truth, for everything we've survived. The footsteps drew closer. The house had never felt so small. Every wall seemed to tighten around me as the intruders moved through the rooms, their footsteps heavy, purposeful, and terrifying. I gripped the metal candle stand with both hands, my palms sweating, my breath shallow. But fear did not stop me. Fear sharpened me. Mummy. Adaora's voice echoed faintly from down the hallway, trembling and desperate. I didn't respond. If she heard my voice, she might come out, and that was the one thing I couldn't allow. The men advanced quietly, like wolves hunting prey. Then one voice spoke, deep and cold. We know you're in here, madam. Come out. You know why we're here. I swallowed hard. Leave my house, I said, forcing my voice not to shake. They laughed. 3 men, mocking, amused, deadly. You think we came all this way for jokes? One replied. We want the access codes. The accounts your late husband left behind. My heart dropped. This wasn't random. This wasn't coincidence. These were the same people my husband feared 2 decades ago, the enemies from his past. And now they had found us. One man stepped into the hallway, tall and muscular, wearing a black jacket and boots. His face was partially covered with a scarf, but his eyes gleamed with greed. Madam, don't make this hard, he said. You're a rich woman now. You can give us what we want and no one gets hurt. I tightened my grip on the candle stand. You will not touch my daughter, I said. He smirked. Oh, so she's here. Good. We need her too. My blood froze. Boss. Another man whispered behind him. Check the rooms. No. I shouted, stepping forward instinctively. The man lunged at me. I swung the candle stand with all the strength I had. Krong! The metal connected with his arm, and he yelled in pain, stumbling backward. But I knew I had only seconds. The second man rushed at me, grabbing my wrist. I fought wildly, kicking, struggling, refusing to be overpowered. He pushed me against the wall, his hand on my throat. "Give us the codes," he growled. I choked out, "Never." Then a sound cut through the tension. A loud, sharp crack. The man turned. Adaora stood at the end of the hallway, holding a heavy wooden stool, her eyes fierce, tears streaming. The stool slipped from her trembling hands. "Mummy!" My heart sank. "No, Adaora. Go back." But it was too late. They saw her. The men froze. Then the leader stepped forward slowly. Well, the daughter, this is even better. Adaora backed away, fear swallowing her voice. And Mummy, "Run." I screamed. She ran toward the back door, but one man leaped after her. I grabbed the candle stand again and hurled it at him. It struck his shoulder, and he cried out, stumbling, "Leave her alone." I yelled, pushing myself off the wall. But the leader moved quickly. He grabbed Adaora's arm, twisting it behind her back. She screamed in pain. I charged at him, but the second man held me down. Adaora cried out, "Mummy! Mummy, help me." Her voice tore through me like a blade. "Let her go." I shouted, fighting violently. The leader pulled out a small syringe from his pocket. Thin, clear, dangerous. Adaora's eyes widened in terror. "No, please." Time slowed. I felt my heart explode in panic. "No! Don't touch her." I screamed with everything inside me. The leader smiled ruthlessly. "Then give us the codes." My breath broke into pieces. "I don't have access yet." I cried. "The lawyers haven't." He slapped me hard across the face. "Lies." Adaora sobbed uncontrollably, her body shaking. "Please, let me go. Please, we didn't do anything." The leader held the syringe closer to her neck. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. A fire I hadn't felt in years erupted inside me, fierce and unstoppable. I pulled free from the man holding me, biting his arm so hard he screamed, and threw myself at the leader. He staggered backward, losing grip for a second. I shoved Adaora behind me. She clutched my waist, shaking uncontrollably. The men regrouped, angrier than before. "You think you can fight us?" one hissed. I stepped forward, breathing hard. "I will die before I let you touch her." They moved toward us, but suddenly a loud boom echoed from outside. The sound of a door kicked open. Then, "Police, don't move." Real police officers stormed into the corridor, weapons drawn, uniforms crisp and unmistakable. Adaora screamed in shock. The intruders froze. "Hands up, now!" an officer shouted. Everything happened fast. One intruder tried to grab Adaora again. A police officer tackled him to the ground. Another man swung his fist at an officer. He was pinned instantly. The leader tried to run. He didn't get far. He was slammed against the wall, his syringe falling to the floor and rolling away. Within seconds, they were all handcuffed, struggling, cursing, defeated. I sank to the floor. Adaora fell beside me, sobbing into my chest. "Mummy, I was so scared." I held her tighter than I ever had before. "It's over," I whispered. "You're safe now." The inspector stepped forward, breathing heavily. "Madam, we've been tracking these men for weeks. They have been intercepting financial alerts from wealthy families. Your case triggered our highest protection level." Another officer added, "Your husband was right to fear them. These men targeted him years ago." I felt my entire body go cold. So this was the danger he tried to protect us from. This was the reason he left. This was the reason he died. Adaora wiped her tears slowly. "Mummy, Daddy saved us even after death." I nodded. "Yes, my child." He did. The inspector continued gently. "Madam, we will provide full security until all your inheritance matters are handled. You and your daughter will be safe." Adaora leaned on me, exhausted. Can we start over? She whispered. I kissed her forehead. Yes, I said softly. We start over now, not as broken people, but as survivors. Outside, the sun began to rise. A new day, a new life, a future built not on lies or fear, but on truth, strength, and freedom. And as the police led the intruders away, Adaora whispered, Mummy, thank you for not letting go of me. I whispered back, I never will.